Today what we're going to talk about is how the chair should look when it's presented to the patient in their home for delivery. As we know, when they come out of the box, they have a big box here, no cushion, the backrest is not in place. What we would like to do is have all of these items put in place and dimensions checked as per the ATP recommendations. We really want to provide the seat cushion with about 1 inch of relief past the end of the pan prior to delivery, with the Velcro put in place prior to delivery. We want it to look like a finished product prior to the individual being placed in it for delivery. In the box there is a tool bag and a battery box. These are the only two things that should be set on the chair prior to delivery. The tool bag I generally hang right on the back, right on the upright post. And this is how it looks before we put it on our van to take it out to deliver to a client. Once the chair is mated into the home, we're going to remove the battery box and set it aside. Then what we're going to look at is the individual that's going to be seated in the power mobility device. There are several adjustments that can be made to make this transition much more effective. So once we have the client in the chair and it becomes clear that the chair is not really fitted very well to the individual, one of the things that we want to look at first is the pelvis and the seating area here. What we notice in this position is that the knees are up, there's not much loading on the proximal thigh, and all of the loading is on the ischial tuberosities in the back. That tells us that the seat pan is too short and the leg rests need to be adjusted. The first thing that we're going to do is adjust the seat depth. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use a 6mm Allen key to loosen up these 4 bolts on the back. So that the backrest can be slid on its rails to a position that's more appropriate. Once we have moved the backrest into the back position, as it was clear I needed the full adjustment to accommodate my leg length, then we will make sure that these 4 bolts are securely tightened. So the next thing I'm going to do is adjust the leg rest length to accommodate my lower leg length. That's going to require using a 5mm Allen wrench to loosen these and let this come down to the appropriate length. Usually this is something that I might do while the patient is in the chair. So that I can determine precisely where they need to be. This, however, seems to be just about right for me in the lowest position possible for this configuration. So I will tighten those. It is very important to tighten them both on each side. And then we'll lower it back into its lower position. There. Now I'm going to sit back in it and reevaluate where we're at. Okay, the hips and pelvis look pretty good. The armrest, however, seemed to be relatively low. In addition, the center of gravity is a little bit forward. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take up the space that is behind the leg rest and the battery box and close that back and move the center of gravity back a little bit. So what I'm going to do is actually move the center of gravity back so that I can actually enhance the handling characteristics and shorten the overall base length so that we can have better accessibility within the home environment. First thing I'm going to do is start tilting the seating system back so that I can have good access to the rails. You use a 4mm Allen wrench. Some of these have the Allen head bolts to hold this in place, and some of them do not. We're going to remove this cover and set it aside. And then what we're going to notice is that there are 3 bolts on each side of the chair holding the seating system firmly to the base. It is a 17mm wrench that will be required to loosen these and allow them to be pushed into the appropriate position. So what I can see here is that this bolt and this bolt are all the way back as far as they can go. So they're going to have to be removed completely to allow for the whole system to be pushed back. Now I've already done this procedure on the other side so that we don't have to waste time demonstrating that, because the other side is exactly the same as this side. They both have to be done at the same time. Yeah, take once we get that in place, I'm going to push the base back. There. I'll go ahead and put the bolts back in. Now before we tighten them down completely, we're going to want to make sure that we have adequate room for the leg rest rigging against the front battery box. Now in this case we have a recessed battery box which gives you about 4.5 to 5 inches extra space for this to be recessed. So we'll tilt it down. Make sure there's no interference. That looks good. So I'll tilt it back so I can have access and tighten everything down. So the next thing that we're going to look at is that once we get the pelvis and the lower extremities in pretty good condition with not too much space behind the back of the knees, then we're going to be looking at the backrest and headrest height. We can clearly see that the backrest and headrest are significantly low for my posture. So in this case, we're using the Comfort Company with the Activac with the power interface for the Quantum Q6 Edge. So to get the adjusted height, I'm going to pull the pins on each side. I'm going to slide it up to its highest position, and then I'm going to lock it into position like so. The headrest, I'm going to move up a little bit to accommodate my height. And at this point we're going to start talking about the tag technique. This is a technique that I developed while I was in the clinic. When we finish the headrest, the joystick, and the armrest, there are 3 tags that will be removed from the chair. After the headrest is completely secured and the locking mechanism is pushed down so that when it's taken out it can be put back in place easily, then we will cut the tags off the headrest indicating that it has been completed. The next section is looking at the armrest height so that I can show the details here in this area. I'm going to remove the armrest, but then I'm going to put the armrest back on before we make any definitive movements to show how we use the armrest while it's in place as leverage to help move the mechanism. I'm going to set that aside. This is a 13 millimeter bolt. There are 3 of them on this section. We will loosen all 3 bolts. And I'm going to extend the turnbuckle as well, so that I can optimize the height that I can gain. I'm going to place the armrest back on, and then I'm going to extend it back and using the leverage within the system to move this whole system up the rail. Now we see it got a little further up. I'm going to have to extend the turnbuckle so that we can get to its maximum height, because that's what I'm going to need so that it'll fit me. So once I get it to the top index back here, I'm going to tighten these down. Including the one on the bottom that's under here. Now it's very clear that the armrest has been raised significantly. I'm going to sit back in the chair and see if it's anywhere close to where I need it to be to fit me. And it feels like it could come up just a little bit more to be perfect, but I'm not sure we have that much in this system. As you can see, I've turned it around to the other side. I am on the turnbuckle again. We're going to run up the jam nut. We're going to apply about 20 foot-pounds of torque to jam those together so that they're good and solid. Now that the armrests are actually set at the appropriate height and good, we're going to get rid of the hang tag that tells us that we have completed this process. Vice grips to actually gain good control over the turnbuckle. I clamp them on, use a small adjustable wrench to actually and then I'm going to put about 20 foot-pounds of pressure on that so that it doesn't wiggle loose over time. So finally, what we want to look at is hand position on the joystick. In this case, the hand position lines up pretty good. My arm is rested on the armrest naturally. I can actually get the joystick between my first web space, that's the thumb and the hand. I can maintain contact with the joystick housing with my hand. This is a way to decrease this kind of movement that occurs when people try to address the joystick from the top. By using the web space, we can actually have people modulate that movement very smallly and actually control their speed by how hard they're pushing the joystick rather than doing the full-on push to go and this to go right and left. So you can do this, make it much more subtle, a much better ride. Next thing that we're going to talk about is the battery and battery care. This is the charger plug. It is the white cord that comes out of the charger. It will be placed here like so. The batteries need to be cared for. When the manufacturers send them out, they send them out at 60% of the actual capacity of the battery. The electronics are set up to show that that 60% is 100% full. That misleads many people into thinking that they have a full charge when they're really very close to 50%. It takes 90 cycles of plugging this in and charging it overnight, greater than 8 hours, 90 times to fill the top 40% of that battery. That top 40% is the functional usable capacity of the battery. So it is very important that at delivery we talk about battery care, and we talk about it more than once. Generally 5 to 6 times of talking about the necessity for plugging it in every night, regardless of how many green bars or how many bars or how full the charger says it is. The charger is designed to recognize 60% as a full charge. It will continue to charge at a very low rate once it gets past that to overcharge the batteries a little bit every night, and that fills up the top 40%. So keep in mind, 60% is what the batteries are sent out. 60% is understood as 100% by the equipment. So if you're driving and you see those bars drop, you're already at 50% of the life of your battery. First bar gone means you're at 50%. No matter what the percent that the joystick says. It takes 90 cycles to fill up that top 40%. That top 40%, which is the functional usable capacity of the battery, you may never see it drop a green bar once you get your batteries fully conditioned. Keep in mind, you have to reiterate 3 to 5 times that the batteries must be conditioned. That means that they have to be charged every night for the first 3 months for more than 8 hours every night. Keep in mind that this chair was originally set up for a 105-pound 14-year-old girl, and I have now reconfigured it for a 230-pound male. There's that much flexibility in this system, and it can be made comfortable for anybody in between those two very easily with a little bit of time and expertise in fitting.